Well, Nicole, qualifying's in the books. Bit of a surprise. On the pole, you have Mitch Evans, 3 valuable points. Points leader, his teammate, Nick Cassidy, missing out on the duels. Now, I found it interesting. Mitch Evans saying, well, this is more for the points because we know with the peloton style, it's a disadvantage when you're up front. Do you think Nick Cassidy is off the pace, or do you think he sort of knows what he's doing?
I'd like to think that Nick Cassidy knows what he's doing. He's had a wonderful weekend so far, and so this is quite a bit of a shock. So hopefully he's able to kind of pull something out of his bag of tricks and have a really good race today. But only time will tell. With the peloton style racing here, this could be really difficult for him.
It could be very difficult. One team that seems to be off on the wrong foot is Nissan. Of course, Colette making the most of it. Oliver rolling out. Sasha Frenestein practice. Got into the barriers. Still went out there. Laid down a pretty solid act considering he had suspension damage. Do you think this is just something where he feels like he wants to demonstrate he could be a team leader during a time of crisis like this?
I hope so. I hope this is more than just a little bit of luck, but given the fact that suspension issues are very tricky and that over time this could be a really big issue during the race as they continue to have just continuous running of that car, only time will tell.
I gotta say too, it's not looking that great for Nick DeVries as well. Back there where his teammate Eduardo Montoro up towards the front. I gotta ask this. We know what he went through last year with AlphaTauri. From the high of Williams 2 years ago, AlphaTauri let him go before his home race. Are we starting to get a little bit of a sense like maybe some people are going to start doubting his confidence level?
I don't know if it's a doubt in his confidence level or his abilities even. I think this may have just kind of been a strange weekend for him, an off weekend, if you will. I think he's a really fantastic race car driver, and I think that he has a lot to prove, and that this weekend he definitely has something, a little chip on his shoulder, and hopefully he'll be able to have a good race and have a good run and just kind of, you know, settle some truth into all the doubters.
A lot of teams are looking to good runs this weekend. Dan Ticktum, what an effort. His teammate said podium could be a surprise, but let's be honest, this surprising lineup and the surprises we could see with the pack racing, is this anticipating to be probably again like last year, and what are the chances we're going to see a surprise winner?
I think it's more possible now than I thought it was yesterday. I think, you know, qualifying was really surprising for a lot of us, and it's very exciting to see that this could be a little bit less predictable than we were all expecting.
And last year we were expecting, I think, a crazy race. It looks like we're going to be expecting that this year again. And we know last year Mitch Evans, he went from 20th to 4th. This year, on the pole. The disadvantage is when they're all heading to that first corner, it's going to be he's using up the most energy, but it's the Shelton chicane. It's infamous for NASCAR, IndyCar, first lap pileups. We didn't exactly see a pileup last year, but last year we did see those front wings getting damaged, coming off. Is actually Mitch Evans being on the pole a bit of an advantage because he knows trouble's only behind him. He's not worrying about somebody up ahead checking up in front of him.
I think it does have a bit of an advantage, but the one thing that I think you said perfectly is that you just never know at this track. There are some interesting turns. This is a high-speed track, and that Shelton chicane is infamous for just causing a lot of chaos. So it doesn't really matter sometimes if you're out in front. You know, if you're not having a clean race, if you're not incredibly careful and paying very close attention and on your A game, this could be difficult for any driver regardless of their starting position.
You mentioned the track being high speed. A couple of years ago, we talked to Colton Hurd, and he said this is an old school track. It's very simple, very few elevation changes, but the sweeping corners, this really tested drivers in trying to go as fast as possible each and every lap, because finding that extra tenth of a second is so hard. But now, with the pack racing, that's a different ball game. You don't mind being third or fourth in line. I guess my question is, when it comes to some of the strategy for this race, do you anticipate the drivers trying to be in that top 5, top 10 for most of the race and then make the move? Or are we going to see some drivers hang back, way in the back, hoping maybe we have a safety car and then start making a move after a safety car?
I think during this first race, we're probably going to see a mix of strategies. I think there's going to be quite a few of the top teams, specifically Jaguar, who are kind of hoping that they can run in the very, you know, top 3, 4, 5 positions if possible and stay there for as long as possible until the very last second. And I think some other teams who, maybe they don't have the most reliable car or their drivers haven't been having as good of a weekend, utilize the strategy of just kind of waiting back and seeing what happens in front of them and then potentially taking advantage of anything that comes their way.
And of course, we're going to be watching the race. We're going to be covering it right here on the Grid Network. Be sure to subscribe, hit the bell icon. Grid Network TV, full photo gallery being updated each evening. And of course, Instagram, more and more photos being added throughout the day. Thank you for watching. We'll see you after the races. Enjoy the races.